People keep thinking that these movies are based on true stories, but they aren't. Movies based on real events tend to be interesting because people are interested in other people's lives, especially when they are much more interesting than their own. Hollywood is aware of this, so they often say based on a true story even when most of the movie is made up. As long as there are some parts that are true, it can be sold as fact, and most people won't even notice how much of it is made up. People often think that the following movies are based on true stories, but they are almost all made up. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Even though the marketing for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre said that it was based on a true story, most of the movie is made up. The real-life serial killer Ed Gein, who was known as the Butcher of Plainfield, was the model for the bad guy Leatherface. When the director said that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was based on a true story, he was making a political statement about how the government lied to hide bad things that happened in the 1960s. Braveheart.
I want a home and shelter. It's all for nothing if you don't have freedom.
Fans of the historical action movie Braveheart might be disappointed to find out that this true story doesn't have much truth to it. The Scottish rebellion against England was led by Robert the Bruce, not by William Wallace. In spite of what the movie suggests, England had only ruled over Scotland for a year before the rebellion. But the movie won Oscars, so choosing fiction over reality worked well for it and many other movies. Anastasia. In the Fox animated movie Anastasia, two con artists try to get the reward by passing orphaned Anya off as the missing Russian princess Anastasia, who she looks a lot like. No one, including Anya, knew that she was really Anastasia, but it turns out that she is. The real princess was killed and buried in a grave with no sign, which made many people think she was still alive. Over the years, many people claimed to be Anastasia, but DNA testing showed that bone fragments that had been found were actually hers, putting an end to the rumor. Argo.
Deliver the 6 bikes, provide them with maps.
Or you could just send in training wheels and meet them at the border with Gatorade.
The only real thing that happens in Argo is that the CIA makes a fake movie in Iran. It helped prove that it was based on a true story by having the actors pose in photos that looked just like ones of the real people. This made it seem like the events were real. The movie didn't show how important Canada's part was in the success of the rescue mission. Instead, it gave all the credit to the US. During the escape sequence, the audience watches a Fleck and his team constantly avoid things that could get in the way of the mission. But that wasn't art copying life, it was art lying, because the operation went off without any of these complicated problems. Pocahontas. Pocahontas became well known because of Disney, but the story they told about her was not true. John Smith met Pocahontas when she was about 11 years old. Her name, Pocahontas, was a nickname for kids. Madoka was the real name of the famous Powhatan hero. No one knows if she had a relationship with Smith or not. Cool Runnings. No one in the well-known story about an underdog team, Cool Runnings, was real. Instead of Jamaican sprinters, the team was made up of people who were joining the army. The Americans George Finch and William Maloney chose the group of would-be heroes by hand, like a 90 Seconds boy band. In the movie, the Jamaican bobsled team was picked on, but in real life, they were accepted and liked by most people. Captain Phillips. Like many based on a true story movies, there are different ideas about what Captain Richard Phillips was really like. The movie makes him out to be a selfless hero, but those who knew him say he wasn't like that at all. The attack happened in part because of how careless he seemed to be acting, which led to a lawsuit. Shane Murphy, the ship's first mate, said that he had no problem with how heroic both he and Phillips seemed in the movie. Of course, no one would have a problem if they were shown in such a good light. Fargo.
Her dad, he's real well off. So why don't you just ask him for the money?
Even though the beginning of Fargo says that the things that happen in the movie are real, the Coen brothers say that the whole movie is made up. The story about a plan to kidnap someone who ends up killing 3 people is based on 2 different true events. In one story, a General Motors worker stole from the company, and in the other, a crime inspired the scene where a body is thrown into a wood chipper. The Coen brothers put these and other stories together to make their own unique look at America in this funny masterpiece. 300.
Spartans! Tonight we dine in hell!
Even though 300 Spartans fought against 300,000 Persians, the movie 300 didn't show that another 7,000 Greeks helped the small group in the epic battle. Spartans would probably not go into battle with nothing but leather thongs and a shield for protection. Leonidas' use of the word boy lovers to insult Xerxes' messengers is also not true. At that time, it was the law that gay couples had to be together. The Pursuit of Happiness.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
The Pursuit of Happiness is a heartwarming and inspiring story about sticking with something, but it left out some parts that weren't as inspiring. Unlike in the movie, Chris Gardner did not buy portable scanners with his own money. Instead, he worked for a company that sold them. The story of the movie also shows Gardner as a good man, but it doesn't say that he was arrested for domestic violence, not for parking tickets. There was also a time when Gardner's son lived with his girlfriend instead of him because he couldn't pay for him. Gardner didn't figure out how to solve a Rubik's Cube either, but Smith did learn how to do it for the movie. The true story is a lot like the lives of most working class people, who struggle to stay alive and take care of their families. The only difference is that this one is one of the rare happy stories.